Friends, welcome back to another edition of Common Ground Morning Show. I am your host, Alex Gettlin.
I am your other host, Rachel LaForce.
As you can see, if you're watching us live, Jonah Gettlin is with us in studio, curious as ever, pulling on the microphone. That's one of the benefits you get if you watch live. Every Monday morning, I was going to say 10 a.m. PST, but now it's kind of like somewhere around 10 a.m., slightly after, depending on how our sun does. But yeah, so if you don't know this show, we are two comedians.
We're married to each other.
And we talk about all kinds of stuff going on in the world. I do want to shout out, we have some awesome new listeners. You know, we just started season 3. This is episode 4 of season 3, so we're back in action. Got new people tuning in. I had 2 folks reach out to me. One, her name is Stacy Papier. She was the wife of my high school coach, like the coach that did all the sports at school. She just saw us on Facebook. I was like, what's up, Stacy? Thank you for... If you guys... You know, whether you know me or Rach personally or you just found us randomly, we love when people reach out. So if you reach out and tell me you listened to the episode or watched it live, I'm going to shout you out. Also, shout out to another new fan of ours, my trainer at F45, Jeremy Winter, gave us some very nice praise on Instagram, said that our show was one of those where we talk about things in a rational way. We're not partisan. We kind of just have, you know, interesting, logical conversations about what's going on in the world. So shout out. Also, if you live in the Sherman Oaks area and you want to get in shape, F45 Sherman Oaks, where Jeremy is the head trainer. They're not sponsoring this. I just, you know, he gave us praise. I'm giving him praise. You know what I mean?
Sure. Praise on praise on praise.
So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Okay.
A lot going on in the world.
Yep.
But probably nothing is more groundbreaking, earth-shattering, headline-worthy news than, I don't know if you heard, Rachel, but... Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian were spotted holding hands at Knott's Scary Farm. That is the breaking news. That was all over Twitter this morning when I woke up.
I know. I saw it. Just like, what does Pete Davidson think? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is like,
he's between Ariana Grande and like he shoots way out of his league and he wins, man.
Dude cleans up.
Yeah.
But here's what's hilarious to me and here's what I appreciate about Pete Davidson is like he has never pretended to be anything other than what he is.
Sure.
And, you know, or it's like because he has like a very severe personality disorder that lends itself to like mood disorders and things like that, right? It's very severe. And so he talks a lot about it. And so he's like mitigated using drugs and all sorts of different things, right? And not that if you have mental illness, that you should not be able to date beautiful women. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But just that I feel like a lot of people like front, and I really appreciate that about him. Sure. But also like he's like a goofy looking dude.
Yeah.
Not like uber intelligent.
Right.
Not like
he's like clever-ish,
but he's basically the dude that like always works himself into a good situation for just being like, I don't know. Pete Davidson, I don't know. Like, how does that even happen? Where was Kim like, you know what I want to do now? Like, I don't know. Those bitches are crazy.
What, the two of them?
Yes. But it also feels like it's to me, it's actually sibling rivalry. That's what it is.
Well,
because Courtney got something by dating a skinny white dude with a bunch of tattoos.
I was just gonna say
and
that.
Kim was like, okay, well then if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna find another like skinny white dude with a bunch of tattoos.
You know what it is?
And then Pete Davidson was just like around.
Right. It's Pete Davidson, Kim Kardashian, Megan Fox, Machine Gun Kelly, and Travis Barker, Kourtney Kardashian. Like they're all now dating like safe bad boys. You know, like skinny white dudes with.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like Megan's not in their family. Like I was just saying like because of all of the publicity. That because Kim's always right, we all know Kim has always been the number one.
Sure.
And even if they all support each other and whatever,
I don't think so anymore. I think the young ones now are kind of like queen bees in that family.
Because you didn't let me.
Oh, excuse me. All right.
But that's what I'm saying. But still they're from a different generation. Like the OG is Kim, Courtney, and Khloe.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's like they all have everything they have because Kim made a sex tape. It's literally the whole reason that they have everything that they have.
That is true.
You gonna pull up some old school TMZ knowledge for me or something?
Well, I was gonna say I really think it's Kris Jenner is the reason they have everything they have.
For sure.
Like Kim is the face of it, but that ship has been fucking captained by Chris, dude.
And I will say, I feel like Kris Jenner's achievements are wildly underappreciated.
Mm-hmm. She's the ultimate momager.
She's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Momager or not, she literally made like $1 billion empire.
Yeah.
Multiple billions.
She did.
On a family that does
nothing.
And now they're all like, I guess, attractive, right? To me, they all just like look like filters to me. But you know what I mean? They all look like slightly CGI.
Yeah. I was trying to make some shitty joke like coffee filters, like because they're like kind of brown but dirty, but they're not, you know.
Whoa, I feel like that could go.
Not racist. The
Yeah,
Kardashians are white. Stop.
That,
anyway, I want to shout out Ricky Dunlop. Shout out Ricky for watching. Thank you.
Hi, Ricky.
For being a fan. Yeah, I we don't have to spend too much time talking about it, but I just saw that. It was like headlines, like they're holding hands, and then I'm like, you know what? The Chinese deserve to take over the world. Like, if that's what is exciting for America, if that's our headline news, we don't deserve to be.
Yeah, where is she this week? You know what I mean?
Know. I mean, if she had made, if this was pre-Halloween, she could have been a costume.
What ride is this? Also, why are they're almost both making the exact same face, but the woman in front of them does look like she's receiving a water douche. Or a water enema.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Or I think all enemas are water.
I wouldn't know. I have heard that they're not good for you, though. Okay, but listen. So there's stuff that's like that was like a silly thing I wanted to talk about, but I do know there is something very not like big news, but it's been the hot talk of the internet that I know you've got a lot of opinions on. That our boy Mark Zuckerberg.
First of all, do not call him my boy. No, he is not my boy. He is not on my team.
Yeah,
we are not teammates.
Yeah.
I am not here for Mark Zuckerberg.
So you guys probably heard, if you are on the internet in any capacity, Facebook did a hot rebrand, which, you know, Rachel's typically fan. You're a fan of at least rebranding in theory, right? Like I feel like
sure.
Yeah.
Oh sure. A little zhuzh up of the brand.
Who doesn't love a good rebrand? And
love a brand zhuzh.
And I guess so Facebook, the product
heard of it.
Is gonna still be called Facebook, the product Facebook, but the parent company is now called Meta, because I don't even know why.
Yes, you do. You know exactly why.
Well, tell me why.
Because they have received so much bad press that they can't get out from under.
Sure.
And again, never let a good crisis go to waste. And this was the perfect time where it was like, well, Mark Zuckerberg was planning to take over the world anyway.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, here's the perfect opportunity. We're just going to do a bait and switch. We're not going to talk about the fact of all these leaks.
Yep.
We're not going to talk about the fact that we've sold everybody's data, that we've used everybody. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about like all of the ethical and moral quandaries. We're just going to hopscotch past that. And instead, we're just going to rebrand. And that's my thing. Like his face, like everybody's supposed to be excited about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the whole thing is like, isn't this great? It's like, Mark, first of all, you shouldn't be the face of anything.
Yeah, it is weird that like he wants to be.
It's not weird. He's a megalomaniac too.
I get that. I just think if he had hired like who's someone who everybody likes? I don't know, like Morgan Freeman or something. Like
sure.
But someone like that who could be the face of. But I guess you're right. Yeah, I mean, no, he wants to be, you know, the king of that shit.
Well, again, and the problem is, it's not that what they're doing. We're headed that way anyway, right? We especially after this year, like that's the other thing. I mean, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist because I feel like, you know, as humans, we fuck shit up all on our own. Like we don't have to have like this grand scheme, you know, and people are like, this is what happened. And that's why we got into this war. And then I'm like, no. Humans are just like, especially, you know, traditionally speaking, patriarchal societies are run off of like greed, money, and like, you know, how far can I push this? Jonah agrees. And so it's like, yeah, we don't need a conspiracy. It's like, you know.
Jonah's got opinions. As you guys can hear, he is letting his voice be heard. As, you know, well, his mom is always about speaking truth, so he's just speaking his truth.
I mean, it does make me really.
What's up, Jonah? He's all right. You know, we don't have a usual sitter yet, so he's just coming in studio with us now.
I was just trying to figure out. I'm like, are you
You-
see? Like, are you crying? Are
No,
you?
he's okay. You want to just lay him down? Anyway, so
Will you? I'm listening. Just take my picture off.
okay, all right, we're gonna do some.
No,
Yeah.
let's keep talking about Metaverse.
No, I know. Yeah. Rachel's off cam because she's got to feed our son, and that's we're not. You know, that's the OnlyFans version of Comic Ground Morning Show. You're not whipping boobs out on. But look, here's my thing. Okay, I think it's a smart move. I don't think it's gonna work, but I think it's his attempt. You know, to try and rebrand. Also, the interesting thing. Okay, so the metaverse is what a lot of people like tech aficionados talk about. And effectively, what the metaverse is, it's like the next phase of the internet, right? So it's going to be sort of like the next iteration where virtual reality merges with, you know, what we have now. And it's kind of hard to imagine in full because the technology isn't quite there yet. But from what I've read, Zuckerberg spends, it's kind of hard to pinpoint because this stuff is very secretive, but some people estimate at least $5 billion a year, which to Facebook is nothing when and that's insane to think about that, but $5 billion per year on research and development to kind of capture, you know, the space of the metaverse. That's why it's called Meta, because he's like kind of trying to be like, it's the metaverse, and Meta is the company that pioneered the metaverse. But when you think about like people in history that have done the same thing, you know, John D. Rockefeller, the Mellons with steel, you know, in the turn of the century, those, you know, the guys who were the multi-billionaires of their day, the Vanderbilt family, all of these people find a market where, you know, industry explodes and they capture it. And that's just what kings used to do. It's just before innovation. It was just, hey, I have the best army. You know, Genghis Khan did that. He just went and killed everybody. He was like, apparently he was the first one.
It's not about finding the right market. They're creating markets. There's no reason. We don't need a metaverse.
Yeah.
There's actually, in fact, no reason why we need one. But what's happening is this is the dark version.
Yeah.
The dark version to me is what's going to happen is it's going to go hand in hand with this war on the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to like where people essentially can't afford to leave their houses. It's so expensive. Gas is so expensive.
Yeah.
Like cities are so like economic collapse, which is very well on its way if we continue to do what we're doing. And it's like, great. Well, we've created this thing where now we're never going to be overthrown because people can't afford to leave their houses, but we've created this entire world where they don't have to. Amazon can bring them everything that they need. We don't have to pay people. It's all robots, and people don't have to leave their house, and they can just participate in this thing. That's the very dark version of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what else is shitty? Like, so what's interesting too, I was thinking about this, you know, like this past year, a lot of people were able to work remotely, which is great. And because of the limits of like Zoom, like your boss can like see if you're on camera, like in front of your computer, but they can't like see into your house. And I feel like there's going to be some sort of like a hybrid VR work thing where when you're logged on to your job, your boss is going to be able to like poke around and be like,
well, no, you can create, it's a metaverse. You'll create your own like in-home office, which will only continue to create our other sense of like delusion, like any of it fucking matters. The same thing with where it's like, the amount of things that are going on right now in the world and everyone's like, oh my God, Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian, let's like, you know, break Twitter with that.
right.
Like none of that matters. None of that matters. In fact, $200 says that was a staged photo.
Oh,
you know, where
of
it's
course
like,
it was duh. What do you think those two have anything interesting to talk about with each other?
It's
maybe they do. Yeah, being famous is awesome, isn't it?
I mean, I'm just saying that like, it's not even real.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. It's just like, it's wild to me now that we have access to everything that's happening in the world, and yet we are not doing anything to try to genuinely change it. We're all just talking to each other. What are you doing?
You're not. This is only I can see this part. That's not on.
Oh,
the one on the right is. I'm trying to tweak the camera to make.
Sorry, I looked up and I saw that I was on camera, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
No, I'm tweaking. So I was gonna put it so we're both on. Do you want me to?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Can you be on camera again?
Yes, that's fine.
Look, see now it's.
Okay, that was terrifying.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'm not gonna show your breastfeeding.
Well, you were really getting very cavalier there.
Well, because you were talking, and it's weird for people to watch the show and only see my face. Okay. Anyway, enough of that. Unless you want to talk more about the metaverse, but
yeah, I mean, what else is there to talk about?
Well, I did.
I don't think people are really like taking in how severe this is.
They're not. But real quick, I did pull up a handful of companies that did a rebrand on their name, and I'll just run through a few. This is from the New York Times. They did a whole piece on it. So Dunkin' Donuts, now called Dunkin', which I think worked because I think of coffee when I think of Dunkin' first. I mean, I still in my head think the words Dunkin' Donuts, but I think of coffee before I think of donuts.
The only reason it's smart is I didn't even know they did that.
Right. It was very subtle. Okay.
Which is really how all rebrands should be.
But some of these, like, okay, so this one, I don't know. I have no real opinion on. So Philip Morris, which makes Marlboro cigarettes and a bunch of other tobacco products, their Altria Group, which, I mean, I don't really, I didn't even know that was like a thing. So Google, same with like Metaverse, their parent company is Alphabet, but you still say Google. So that's what I think is going to happen with like Facebook. And then some of these were interesting, like Weight Watchers, they just changed it to WW because now apparently it's a whole wellness 360 company, which I got to say, we're really using the word wellness very liberally. I feel like we just apply wellness to anything that like vaguely has to do with like maybe your health in some capacity.
Sure.
Okay, you don't see that.
Sorry, I wanted to talk more about the metaverse. I find that to be much more interesting.
Well, I was just as a reference, like these are some companies that try to do the same thing. Okay,
Yeah.
So go back to the metaverse.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, yes, that's interesting. I think that's interesting, but I don't think that people are really. I think there's so much going on, and we are so traumatized to like, what's next,
Yep.
that we're not fully. Which is also right. It's like the perfect time for more and more of our like rights or our voice to be taken away because
you want me to take him?
No, just take my screen off again.
Okay.
I think that's
1 second, guys. Sorry. This is great. Okay, here we go. Yeah, let's just do that. It's great for the pod, right?
come here.
Sorry for the dead air. Again, with babies, and we're just we're figuring out as we go. But we appreciate you guys. I mean, I do love having our son here. It is nice, but it's very difficult to do a live morning show with a fidgety 4-month-old. And it's like, he doesn't always tell us what he wants. Sometimes he doesn't know what he wants.
Well, in fact, he never tells us what he wants. He can't speak.
No, but sometimes he kind of makes, like, sometimes it's very obvious what he needs.
But yeah, I think that I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like awakening to the fact of like, we literally know everything that's being taken away from us in real time.
Yeah.
We know like how extreme things are becoming, and yet we're not doing anything. All we do is like pass around on Twitter and on Instagram like terrifying facts. So scary, in fact, they come with trigger warnings.
Right.
And we're not doing anything.
Okay, but can I bounce off what you just said?
Yeah.
You and I talk about this at length. We had some gummies the other night and talked about it very in depth, but ultimately it comes down to, well, what do you do? I mean, truly, like, we know that, we've seen the greatest transfer of wealth in at least modern history this past year. The billionaire class is getting stronger and stronger. People like us in the middle class is shrinking, and the tech oligarchs have more influence than ever. But like, how do you go up against it? Like, nobody seems to have. There's two factors, right? One, it's
go ahead.
Even if we band it together somehow, how do you go against it? And two, we hate each other so much. Did you hear about this?
But we don't. We have. That's the problem. No, we don't. We have to stop saying
it's
that.
a mix. It's a mix. So did you hear about the Southwest Airlines thing that just happened?
No.
So you know the Let's Go Brandon
Right.
thing, right?
Oh, yeah, he said it on an airplane. Yeah,
So a pilot said, "Let's go, Brandon." If you don't know "Let's go, Brandon," it's like GOP code. It's like a code phrase for like "fuck Joe Biden." Just Google it. So he said, apparently, over the intercom, it's like a joke. "Let's go, Brandon," and now people are like having a meltdown because it was tasteless, of course. Like I don't want to hear my pilot on a plane say anything political. I want you to fly the plane. I don't care. Even if you align with my politics, even if he's like taxation is theft, I'd be like, "You damn right, sir," but maybe not now on the plane. So I get that.
But wasn't it? It was a little boy's birthday whose name was Brandon.
Maybe. So it's kind of vague. It's hard to know.
What do you mean?
Sure.
Maybe there was a boy on the plane named Brandon, or there wasn't.
There's conflicting reports, so it's like hard to know what's true. And like I don't.
So then it's not even a story we should be paying attention to because it's not based on fact.
But either way, the Twitterverse is going insane because they're like.
Right. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't care what people are doing.
Right.
I'm calling out what's actually happening.
Okay.
Because what's actually happening, that's a perfect example that people are wasting their time. And by people, right, we know that it's, less than 10% of Twitter is run by 90% of Twitter traffic is run by 10% of people.
Not the traffic, but the content.
Right. So,
yeah,
yeah,
I know what you're saying.
So essentially meaning where it's like, oh, Twitter's like blowing up. It's like, no, it's not. There's like 4 people in basements that are like, hey, let's make a huge deal to ruin people's day so that people don't pay attention to what's actually going on.
But here's the problem. It's not, in terms of sheer number of people, it's not that many. You are correct. But it's not 4 people in basements. It's a lot of people with blue check marks who are actual. Now, I think they're shysters in their own way, but they're professional bloggers, journalists.
Right. But we also know.
But those people push the needle of culture. They have a lot of.
I know, but that doesn't mean that they fucking know anything.
I agree with you, but the problem is that people who run these companies and are in Congress and in major media, they listen to these folks on Twitter for some reason. And so it really does have an effect. See, it's not just that like idiots are saying it and no one takes them seriously. People who have real influence and power listen to these morons.
Right. I know. Because we also have morons in Congress.
Yeah.
So but that's what I'm saying is like I understand the logic. You always come to me and you're like, but how do you do it? It's like I'm not talking about logic. You want to know what else is logical? Motive for murder. Does it mean that murder is okay? No. But we know what a motive is.
I don't know, man. There's some scenarios where
I'm just saying, go with me here. That, it's crazy to me at this point that we, like, just for the fact that it's like, our Congress was like, yeah, we're not going to do paid leave for family.
Yeah. Right.
But now anytime that there are big ticket, and I know there's plenty of things wrong with the Democratic Party. This is just an example where it's like when the Republican Party is like, we're family first. No, you're not.
That's a great point.
In fact, you 100% are not.
Yeah. Scotty, my brother, our landlord as well. He owns the house we live in. Just a fun fact for you guys. But he's really big on this hardcore history podcast by Dan Carlin, which is really great. And from that podcast, he's learned about how when Rome fell, the Roman Senate, all they would do would like fight with each other and make it specifically so like progress couldn't happen to screw over their enemies. And that's what we're in now. I mean, that's why these.
But the problem that people aren't realizing is that the enemy is just somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is we are doing this to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'm just like no longer interested in having these conversations with people unless I can be blatantly like honest.
Yeah. I get it.
Where I'm just like, this is no longer like, well, I believe this because like this is what's better. And it's like, if you are not understanding at this point that we are all having a human experience and that we are all having to endure this together, then I don't know what to tell you.
But back to my question, specifically, what do we do about the Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg?
In actuality, what we would have to do would actually have to be a revolution at this point. Okay. People would have to. I understand what you're saying. Let me finish. That we would have to. I know, but you were going to ask me the same thing. Of like, we would literally have to, like, band together and start like in small pockets of places. People would have to let go of a lot of things that they don't want to. Right. Because to do a revolution, like first and foremost, everybody would have to stop using Amazon. Like if you want, you know what I mean? Like these people have gotten to where they are because they have. It's not. I don't think that they're like intellectually stupid.
Right.
You have to be wildly brilliant to be able to create these things. But if we were to,
You do, but I also Dylan says the metaverse is a problem. You are right, Dylan. Shout out to Dylan Krasinski, one of our fellow comics, also one of our attorneys. Fun fact. It's true. But okay, I get what you're saying, but I think the closest let me finish when I say this sentence. So I know it's going to sound insane.
okay,
But I think in the modern window, the closest we came to anything, even in that conversation, was electing Trump as president. And I don't think that he's a hero or anything like that. I think it was like he just was a moron that was megalomaniacal enough in the right place. But he was like the first like Molotov cocktail into the system that was like, oh, we're trying something fucking crazy. What I mean by that is like, I'm not super well caught up on a lot of revolutions, but I do know a fair amount from my YouTube deep dives about the Haitian Revolution and the American Revolution. And there were two factors that were really key about that. One, with the American Revolution, is that there were a lot of people, mostly our founding fathers, who were already pretty fucking rich, who had the clout and the power and the muscle to fund a revolution. And they specifically were benefiting from it, but they could bankroll it happening. And like the Haitian Revolution, you had so many slaves that were treated so horribly, and they were slaves. Their lives were as horrible as it could get. And there were so many of them, they could outnumber everybody, and they took over. We don't have either of those scenarios right now. We don't have a scenario where think about our life, right? Is it shitty in a certain number of ways because of the tech oligarchs? Of course. But it's nowhere near bad enough where I would risk losing my family. Like, we're not in that scenario. And we don't have, like, the only way this could happen is if you had someone who was like one of these figures who had the money and wherewithal to, like, fund the revolution. And then they just become in charge. And so it just turns into, like, infighting, or people are like, well, I don't want that guy to be the new boss. No.
Sure. I'm listening. I think it's interesting. I mean, I think that there are ways to do it. I mean, yeah, we the people would essentially have to rework our government. I mean, the fact that Mitch McConnell is in charge
of anything.
Yeah. Ted Cruz is a person who gets to make laws.
I know. It's true.
I wouldn't trust him to blow up a balloon.
But all these people are fucking crooks, man. If you do a deep dive on people,
but I'm not saying, to me, it doesn't matter left or right. That's again, that is a waste of our time. When people are like, "Well, my team," it's like, no, all of them are not doing anything in our best interest, and this bill is the perfect example.
You're right.
Your whole job as the government is supposed to be to govern and make sure that the people have what they need.
Yeah.
And almost unanimously, everyone was like, you don't need that. That's insane.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like kind of read up on the nuances, but to me, it just seems like proof positive that our current system doesn't work, A, and B, that, these politicians are bought and sold by their corporate interests.
Right, which is a problem. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, really, when you talk about, it's like, yes, there are like revolutionary acts and things like that could take place, but it's also just like,
well, revolution doesn't have to be violent. Dr. King led a revolution.
That's true. Well, that's one of the things I said the other night too. I was like, we don't have any leaders.
Yeah,
we don't have anybody who's not like bought and paid for, who's coming out. But also, you want to know why? Where are they going to talk?
Mm-hmm. Well,
where are they going to go?
That's a huge part of it. That's part of it, but I also think, unfortunately,
because the other thing, that I just thought of, which was if you actually wanted to, share about what's really happening, you would have to do it in public spaces and have other people film you and circulate because if you tried to do it online, you'd get shut down.
No, even
over and over and over again.
Even that doesn't work anymore because and again, just for the record, I'm not a fan of Trump. I think he's a fucking idiot. I think he was a terrible president. But I admire from a distance like what kind of the sentiment was of like new thing, our way, yada yada. So my only point was when Trump got banned from Twitter, there were accounts that were like Trump loyalists that would like share all of his speeches and his things, and those got banned. They don't allow it. Like anything they don't want is gone.
Right, but it's still fringe. I'm saying if you started something big enough, I mean,
but they'll shut it down before it gets
right. But at the same thing that's interesting is like think about all of the different things. Like I feel like the civil rights movement is a great example because it really, at the time, obviously there were whites and there were, whites in positions of power that were wanting to desegregate. But for the most part, it was still a predominantly racist country. And so, it was like an uphill battle of trying to seek, I mean, I guess, quote unquote, equality. There's still a lot of ways that we're not equal, but
at least there's no it's different, and it's better than it was, and it is different, but we do have officially, it is against the law in the country now to officially discriminate based on someone's immutable characteristics.
Sure. I mean, yeah, because no one's gonna come out and say I fired this person because they were this or that. But
can I tag on to something else though that I was about to say?
Sure.
Another issue. Oh my God, our son is. You guys can't see, but he's so cute right now. He's just smiling at me. Another issue is that we just know too much about people now, and it's too easy to sink somebody over like something. So a great example, I use Dr. King a lot because he's like the greatest civil rights hero of all time, or at least in the modern era. Obviously, he did incredible things. He's a hero. He's a legend. He should be revered. But he had a very complicated, flawed personal life. I mean, domestic violence, cheating on his wife, and that is not his legacy. I don't think it's important to just so you know, but it is a fact. And I only mention that because if it was today, the people that didn't like Dr. King would fucking bury him from that, or anybody else in the future, right? I mean, I remember this kind of fell flat on its face, and I don't really care for AOC. I think she's got a lot of I think her heart was in the right place in the beginning, and she got corrupted by the system. But do you remember early on, they were trying to dig up anything they could? There was a video of her dancing in college, and they're like, ooh, looks like she was doing something scandalous when she was dancing in college. And it was just like,
well, the other thing that's crazy to me is the fact that we think we're not going to find out that other people are human.
But that's the thing.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, which is there's not anybody that I can think of that's in a position of power right now where I would be like, oh, yeah, I trust them. Specifically within government. There's not a lot. And I mean,
I'm starting to think, in terms of
someone of true integrity. That's the thing. Well, because I feel like John McCain, I feel like I didn't agree with all of his policies, but I feel like a man of integrity. I feel like Obama, a man of integrity.
Yeah,
but there's not a lot of them. Those were the first two and only two I could think of right now.
I used to think that, and then and again, I'm pretty biased now from my own internet research, but if you look at the things that those guys did with the war state,
right? But that's the only thing that I'm like, I understand why everybody would concede. You can't go up against the military-industrial complex. Well, what were they going to do?
Well, and again, he was a terrible president in a lot of ways, but the only one who even kind of did it remotely in some capacities was Trump.
What did he do?
I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look it up. But he not even anything. He just didn't start any new wars. If you look at every other president before him, from Reagan to now, he was the first one to not start a new conflict. So
in another country, he started up a pretty good war in this one.
Right, but I'm saying that's how low the bar is. Right, that's how sad it's gotten.
Yeah, I mean, my whole point of all of this is I mean, the fact that doxing isn't illegal is shocking.
Well, I mean, how would you make it illegal? Because doxing, all you're doing is mass sharing public information with people. An example is someone who got doxed, right? So do you remember they called her the Central Park Karen? Her name was Amy Cooper, and she was in Central Park. She got into a little argument with this black guy, and video went viral of her calling 911 saying, I'm being attacked by an African-American man in Central Park. Do you remember this or no?
Yeah, he was bird watching.
Okay, right. So the whole thing was something about her dog and whatever. So she got doxxed, and all it was people dug around, found who she was, and shared her phone number, her place of work, her name. Like, it's just if you're sharing information that you can find, like, how do you prosecute that? I think it's wrong, but
Sure.
like,
Yeah, I hear like on a logical level what you're saying. I need to speak. I don't feel like you're getting what I'm saying, which is, what does it say about us that that's where we're at? Like, we're not educating anyone. That's not educating anyone.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's going to look at that and go, now I understand why microaggressions are important.
But I don't think most people care about that.
I think they do.
I disagree with you. I think on like a person to person, like human to human interact. Like if you
So you think people would rather fight than get along?
I think when you set once you there's like a threshold, like a certain amount of people where like it can work that way. Once you leave that like community, right? Like a 50 to 100 people maybe, it disappears because you can't know everybody on that kind of level, and you're just so far removed from, like a city like LA. That could never happen, or even in the United States. There's 300 million people here. It's not going to happen.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying kumbaya and that everybody should get along. That's not what I'm saying. But there is a sense of respect of another human being that we no longer value.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that everything that, like, quote unquote, America says that they value, in fact, all of our actions are in the complete opposite.
I think,
in fact, it's like the only thing I know that Americans value at this point is money. I don't know anything else.
And telling other people that their opinion is right and other people's opinions is wrong.
Well, you know what, I think on a human consciousness level, like, there's a reason why we're all having to experience this. There's a reason why, we're all here at this time to learn these lessons.
Yeah.
But I guess it's interesting. I don't know. I guess I think we talked about this last week where I was like, we have an interesting look into how the country's actually feeling by being able to do live comedy.
Yeah.
Because you're actually in the room with people
Yeah.
and you're eliciting emotions. And to me, if you're doing comedy right, you're eliciting more emotions than just laughter, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I still just I don't buy. I mean, I understand that mob mentality is real. I understand, like, I understand how we got here and all of these things. I guess it's like we've literally been experiencing for, 2 years now.
Yeah.
In a bubble, like, how we got here. And so it's like, okay, so now what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to do this differently? And I do hope that more people, it's like Crystal and Saga are like a perfect example of people deciding that they want to do it differently and seeing that other people agree.
Yeah. But the problem, so I think deep down people really believe that they just want what you said. Yeah, like, just get along, have harmony, all that. But I think this is where we're at in this country, and I think the globe. I mean, it could be how we're rooted as humans. It could be a byproduct of social media. But we are so emotionally attached to our views, to our ideas, to our opinions, that now when someone doesn't share those, they just turn into an enemy. Because when you, like, even the perfect thing right now is attitudes towards vaxxing or masks or all that shit. People be like, oh yeah, well, I just want everybody to get along. Oh, well, if they take the vaccine, if they think I have to take the vaccine, that means they're for tyranny and they want to violate my body, or vice versa. They don't care about my health, so they're going to be selfish and not get the vaccine. Like, people aren't willing to just be like, or abortion is a great one. Right? People are so, not everybody, but a lot of people are so fundamentally rooted in their personal take on that issue, amongst many other ones, that if someone is a few steps away from where they feel, they're an enemy. And especially if that person has their own platform outside of the mold, like Joe Rogan, for example, And I'm not like some Rogan fanboy. I like him, but I'm just saying people can't stand Joe because he doesn't share a lot of heterodox opinions that certain people on the mainstream left have. and he has his own massive platform, and it drives them nuts.
I think he's just low-hanging fruit. I mean, anytime I hear people having an opinion about Joe Rogan, that's not like, it's fine. To me, I'm like, ugh. I don't know. I feel like you have to have stronger opinions than like liking or not liking Joe Rogan.
But I think it's because he has a massive platform that can't be controlled.
Yeah, I mean, people don't.
That's why they hate Chappelle.
Yeah, people don't. I think we're experiencing the reality of people in two different realities. And with ushering in the metaverse, it's going to be
bringing it full circle,
it's
baby.
going to be interesting, which is like you have the reality of your day-to-day and how you conduct yourself. And I feel like for the most part, day-to-day people they're busy, they're doing their thing, but for the most part, like people are kind. You know, if you hold a door open for somebody when you're leaving Trader Joe's or whatever, somebody's probably still going to go, hey, thanks, you know.
Correct.
People still, let me finish, please. Many people, you know, I think for the most part are also really seeking community, even if it's community within, you know, with people that agree with them, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I also think that, you know, it's like that there's that reality and then there's the reality that exists online.
Sure.
And to your point where you told me about the woman who wrote that book and everybody was like, oh, well, people don't want to read a book about how things are going well, so we're not going to publish it. It's the perfect example of like, you know, things aren't really going to trend. I mean, I can tell with like videos that I post, if I use words I know people are going to click on, even if like the same, like even if I'm still like, hey, like you're probably closer to your neighbor than you think, so like get over yourself.
Right.
You know, like even if the message is the same no matter what, but if I use clickbait words, you know, it's like it'll get clicked on way more. So I understand like the infrastructure of what exists right now. I think it's interesting because I think it's something that we did to ourselves. Because also,
we did.
The reason why, you know, to your point, yes, we were like, well, we're so emotionally rooted, right? And I've always said that, like, the way that we view the world now is like an intrinsic value. So it's not that like, oh, you don't think the same way I do. It feels as though somebody is saying that we are wrong. That's what we hear now. You are wrong, you are bad, or you are good.
Yeah.
It's based in like things that we learn as kids. It's not logical. And
That's
so
interesting,
so if people really took a second and were like, you know, and sure, there are some like 20 somethings or whatever people that were like chose to not get vaxxed and like they don't give a fuck and are going out there and are being reckless. And that's not okay. But it's also plenty of people who were just like, hey, I don't think it's cool that like I have to, you know, take this vaccine because you say so. But they also could be great people and taking really good care of their families and their immune system and still choosing to stay home and wanting to like, you know, have a small circle.
Jonah's got opinions.
Jonah agrees. He's teething. And so I think that it's kind of, can you take my screen down? I'm going to feed him.
Yeah.
So I think it's wild that, you know, we've just assigned all of this meaning to things where there isn't any.
Yeah.
Because we, you know, our media and even our government have decided that they would rather be quote unquote right than create anything that actually benefits all of us.
I agree 100%. I do want to pause that and just shout out Sue Painter says hi. Hi back, Sue.
Hi, Mom.
And Ricky, Information Wars. That's what's coming, man. Ricky knows. Follow Ricky Rants, dude. He knows what's up. Okay, we could talk about this even more, but I did find some really good articles this week that I would love to pivot. And unless you had more about the metaverse, you want to get into.
I think it's more interesting when we debate. But go on.
But we've been doing this 40 minutes. I don't want the whole episode to be.
Okay.
We can circle back. Okay. All right. Well, speaking about, you know, we've been seeing a lot of things about like labor shortages and all that kind of nonsense. Well, this is fun. This says, "Get off your butt" billboard paid for by Missouri business owners sparks controversy. So there's a billboard in Missouri that says, "Get off your butt, get to work, apply anywhere," which I just think is weird. Like, Okay, obviously, if people aren't applying for your jobs, you need to raise the pay and work situation. Like, I just don't understand why they thought a billboard shaming people for not applying to their jobs would work. It just seems ridiculous. But, okay, Jonah's got some thoughts on that too. So this says, Brad Park, general manager of Great Corner Screen Printing and Embroidery, was one of the business owners. He says, oh, man. I just think, so it just seems weird. To me, it's kind of gross that they would rather spend the money on a billboard shaming people than paying their staff more. And I don't know the nuances of, what they can afford to pay and stuff, but I will tell you, I did find a restaurant in Seattle, a burger joint. I forget the name of it. I apologize. I thought I had looked it up. Let me see if I can. No, I didn't save it. Damn it. But it's a burger joint in Seattle that pays their staff $19 an hour if they're new, $20 an hour if they're trained for a burger joint. And their burgers cost less than $5 for the basic burger. So anybody that says that we can't pay a living wage because you have to jack up the prices, you can go fuck yourself, all right? And the libertarian in me is not a fan of government mandates and what you have to pay, but is the human in me. Like you and I, for our personal business, we don't pay anybody less than $20 an hour.
No, it's insulting.
It's insulting, and also like if you want to hang on to people that are worthwhile, you got to fucking pay them what they're worth. Apologize for the cursing, but just I'm so mad about this billboard. It's like, dude, stop trying to shame people. If people aren't applying to your jobs, you need to look inside and figure out why they don't want to work for you. I've had so many shitty bosses that think that it's like such an honor to work for them, and it's not. It's fucking not.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that. I'm
no,
sorry.
I agree.
Yeah, we did get Jonah to calm down a little bit. Okay, all right. This one is funny. You're going to have some thoughts on this. This is a real thing going on. Okay. From USA Today, PETA calls for Major League Baseball to change term bullpen to the arm barn to be sensitive to cows. This is a
arm barn. What does that mean?
I guess that's just the name they came up with. They don't like the term bullpen because they think it's offensive to cows.
I mean, PETA is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
They might have actually sponsored the photo of Pete and Kim, Like,
So PETA says they needed to get rid of the outdated name and these were animal friendly. They said, words matter. And these stupid pop-up ads. I apologize. 1 second. That's the only downside of pulling up articles from these different websites. Okay, here we go. Words matter. And baseball bullpens devalue the talented players and mock the misery of sensitive animals, PETA Executive Vice President Tracy Ryman said. In a press release, PETA encourages Major League Baseball coaches, announcers, players, and fans to change up their language and embrace the arm barn instead.
First of all, arm barn is hard to say.
Yeah.
It sounds like Airbon.
What's Airbon?
It's one of the MLM companies.
What's MLM?
The
multi-level marketing. Oh, the scam ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
just reminds you like when Demi Lovato was like, we can't call them aliens. It's like it's the same thing. You're not helping.
I mean, I get
PETA, I did see they had a whole thing where they're like they basically any phrase that uses animals, like grab the bull by its horns.
Yeah, somebody did a stand-up bit and they read through all of them. Yeah. It's hard for me to make jokes about stuff like that that's so clearly ridiculous.
Wait, Ricky says, how can you become an unnecessary billionaire if you don't rip off thousands of people? Amen, Ricky. You're right. Why does PETA feel like an op? Dude, PETA, I do think PETA exists at this point just to distract us from, I don't know. I mean, I have said this to you before. I do think that we might in our lifetime look back on if they make meat synthetic where you can actually eat it and doesn't make you sick and it tastes good. We're going to look back on today. Look, you guys ate animals? What's wrong with you? And I will preface saying I find vegans, if they're vocal about their veganhood, kind of annoying. But I also understand that, eating meat is kind of selfish. Oh, I just realized I have the camera just on me. Do you want me to put it back on you too?
No, that's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I also feel like eating animals is like one of the most like primitive things within like our society, I guess. Or not society, but like as humans,
Right.
you know? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not placing any sort of like moral identity on it. I think it's just, But yeah, I think you're right that many, many moons from now when people are what?
I have some more, but I feel like maybe we should have just talked about the metaverse.
No. Go ahead. I thought that's what we were going to talk about. We talked so much about it and the capital gains and all that the other night, and I thought that's what we were gonna talk about.
Okay.
But you had a full.
Well, I got two more.
Okay, hit me.
And if we want out of the force, what's my course?
No, go ahead. Oh my gosh.
Jonah.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, this is a fun one. Okay. This is an example of a nice boss.
No, it's not about being nice. I know what this is. I have so many thoughts and opinions. Go ahead, read it off.
Spanx CEO surprises every employee with 2 first-class plane tickets and $10,000. You're not. It's not nice.
No, it's what every company should be doing.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not because you were like, isn't that nice? And I don't like that word being associated with
you're
like
saying it's the
because
right
she's a
thing to do.
woman. Isn't that nice that she did that?
Well, I didn't think of it because.
I'm not saying you did.
Oh,
I'm saying
okay.
that language associated with a female CEO and founder, that's what it's going to be of like, oh, that's so nice that she did that. And it's like, no, it's literally proving that Amazon can afford to pay people $20 an hour.
I mean, listen, sometimes I roll my eyes with the narrative like men are shitty and women are kind, and I'm like, okay. However, I will say this woman, Sarah Blakely, who, by the way,